Welcome to Patty's Aquatics. Now, if you ever taken a walk in a local park or heck, even in your own backyard and you find these things blowing around, that's right, dried leaves. Have you ever really considered the benefits that these leaves could have if you added them to your aquariums? That's what we're going to do today. I'm going to add some of these dry leaves to a few aquariums and explain to you really, in my opinion, the benefits of these are. So stick around. Dried, dead leaves are truly one of nature's greatest resources within the aquarium hobby, in my opinion. Now, these things are not only free, but they can give you that natural look, that natural feel within an aquarium, which is something that I thrive for. Now, what are the other benefits of it? Well, one, I can tell you for sure, the shrimp love it. If you keep shrimp in any of your aquariums, that they are going to thrive with these things. It is a constant food source for them to be able to have. Now, I added them to a few of my breeding for profit tubs that I have shrimp colonies in. So it's a constant food source for them. There's always something there for them to eat and feed on. And when I've had them in my aquariums in the past, my shrimp populations just exploded from it. So that is a huge benefit from that. Not only that, but fry, baby fry, fish, anything can live within that leaf litter. They can feed off of that and the microorganisms that are within it with those leaves. But now if you're asking yourself, well, what's the difference between collecting just dry leaves and putting them in an aquarium compared to, say, the resurrection jars that I've collected on my channel before, that when I take handfuls of organic leaf matter from the bottom of a local waterway? With that, let me show you a little something. So what truly is the difference between adding just dry leaves to your aquarium compared to, say, that handful of organic leaf matter from the bottom of a local waterway? That's the difference between these two containers. Now this one is just dry leaves from my backyard that I added to this jar with tap water, and then I had a little sponge filter from a power head that I rang out into it. And this jar is well over six months old, and it has exploded with populations of cyclops for months now. So there is life within these jars, within just these leaves, from adding them to your aquarium. But obviously, looking at this is my resurrection aquarium that I added handfuls, like I said, of this organic leaf matter into this little aquarium so I can document it and observe it long term, which I can put the link to that video above. Now, you can see the difference between this and that. Well, that's obviously, this is exploded with life. There is so much life moving around and twitching and crawling and swimming everywhere that you can see. Now, that's the biggest difference. There is a heck of a lot more biodiversity within one of these handfuls of organic leaf matter from the bottom of a local waterway, because there's so much more life within it. And by adding this to your aquarium, yes, it'll be more beneficial in my opinion, because you can add so much more different biodiversity with micro and macroorganisms and bacteria and stuff like that that can help you and benefit your aquariums. But some people are a little leery on it, and I get it. They're afraid that they're going to introduce something to their aquariums that they may not want, or may fear could kill your fish, or do anything to that. And I get the fear of that. And that's why I think these leaves, dry leaves, can be very beneficial for some people, because you still can add micro life to your aquariums. You still add some of that to your aquariums, and you can do that without the fear of truly adding anything unwanted. So with that, let me add some leaves to my aquarium and we'll explain a little bit more. Now, before I add any to my aquarium here, I'm going to put some in this rainbow shiner tank, because I truly believe my blue dream shrimp population just exploded last time I had leaf litter in here. I had battled a little bit with planaria within my aquariums, and this one in particular, and they kind of took out some of my population. And so I took the leaf litter out of there just so I could, because that was a food source for the planaria as well. That wasn't in there, so I could really find them all and eradicate them, which I did. So now I want to add some leaf litter back in to really explode that shrimp population again. And it also, like I said, gives that natural feel to an aquarium, which I absolutely love. But first off, what I do is I put some leaves in a jar and I soak them in water. And I do that for a few reasons. First and foremost, one, it helps sink the leaf better to the bottom of the tank when I want to add them, but also um, tannins. They can release tannins into your water, which if you don't mind, tannins are not a bad thing. I don't like the stained colored water. So I pre-soak them just to get those tannins out of there. Not all leaves will have the tannins in them from my experiences from soaking them, but some will. So I usually soak them for about a good week to be able to get that out of there. So that being said, let me grab a handful of leaves and we'll stick it in here. All right, so I'm not going to take a bunch. I've got probably a little bit of a handful here, and I'm going to stick it in there now. Going to put them in. Now I have a wave maker in here, so it's probably going to blow it around a little bit. I'm going to see where they settle, and then I'm going to adjust it from there. I don't like that positioning right off the bat. I can tell you that right now. So let me grab tweezers, and let's try to get that to the bottom more so that the shrimp can really take advantage of it. Now I want to get it down towards the bottom more at the bottom of the substrate. It's a perfect area so the shrimp can hide and eat and feast off of this stuff. Like I said, these leaves have been soaking for a while. There we go. And then that'll break down even more as they decompose and break down. Now, what else is the benefit of keeping these leaves within your aquarium? Well, yes, like I mentioned, the shrimp absolutely love them. The one thing you do have to watch out is for with snails. If you're not a snail fan and you have snails in your aquarium, they are also going to thrive off of this leaf dead material. Just to keep that in mind. But I don't mind because I have a puffer that likes to eat them. And I don't mind snails because they are beneficial in my opinion. But now we can get back to the whole food web aspect of this whole thing. Now, really, I said, what's the difference between adding just dry leaves and then the handful of organic leaf matter from a local waterway? Well, I explained the differences in the biodiversity between the life. Yes, there's going to be a heck of a lot more life within a handful from a local waterway compared to just a handful of dried leaves from your backyard. But like I said, there still are microorganisms within these leaves. There's microorganisms within really truly any aquarium. If you have substrate and plants and all that, there is micro life within it. Now, that micro life is also going to help eat and break down those leaves. So that goes back to some things I've said in the past that truly, I believe the food web is truly misunderstood. I believe that people think by just collecting these resurrection jars that you're just doing it just to feed your fish. That's not the case in my opinion. Yes, that is part of the factor. Fish will feed off of it, but that's not the only thing. You are feeding the system. You're feeding the ecosystem of these aquariums that we have, whether it's one of these natural dirted heavily planted tanks or just maybe it's the planted tank. It don't matter. An ecosystem of any aquarium, they feed that. And why is that? Because they will break that leaf litter down. The shrimp will break it down, the snails, the fish, those microorganisms I spoke of, macroorganisms, they'll break it down finer and finer. Now, I've mentioned this numerous times within videos, but that'll help break it down and then it'll be brought down through the substrate and it feeds your soil layer. And then that soil layer or your substrate, that feeds your plants. And it creates that never ending cycle of feeding each other. The plants feed, they create oxygen, it helps the fish survive. The fish feed, they drop waste, they feed off of all that micro life at the bottom. It's one big cycle. So the food web, like I said, in my opinion, is not just feeding your fish, it's feeding the entire system within an ecosystem of an aquarium. And I think that's completely overlooked within this a lot of the times. And I think that's a shame because I really think there's such a benefit to a food web. Now, like I said, you don't have to go collect a handful of organic matter from a local waterway. I get the hesitation to it because there are so many things that people can be scared of that might come out of it. I've really never experienced anything bad except for planaria, but again, this is a way, in my opinion, with just the dried leaves, that you can get away with that. You can experience a little bit of what this food web process is really about without the risk. Now, in my opinion, there really isn't a lot of risk itself just from doing the resurrection jars. Now, I say that even though I was infested with planaria from them, um, that was my own fault. I didn't do enough due diligence. So you just have to just stick your neck out there, I guess I could just say, and give it a try. And I think this is a great way to do it by adding some dry leaves from a backyard or a local park or a local wherever outside in the wild. That this will help any aquarium, one, look natural. Two, if you keep shrimp, they are going to love it, like I said. And then like I said, you're also adding a food source to that system, that food web, to create that never-ending cycle of feeding within that ecosystem within your aquariums. And I think that's truly and highly beneficial in any aquarium, not only dirty tanks, not only natural tanks, but any tank that has a substrate in it, because that's going to help feed your plants. So I hope you enjoyed this little video, and I hope you maybe learned a little something about one, dried leaves, maybe a little bit more about the food web and why really how truly beneficial it can be. And get out there. Get out there. It's an excuse to get out in nature, take a step back out in nature, so to speak, like I say. Get out there, take a walk around, find some leaves. That's one of my favorite joys and fun part about this hobby, is to be able to go outside and go find things and bring things back from nature to be able to add to my aquariums and give back to nature itself by, showcasing it within these aquariums. So if you like this video, please hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. And I am offering memberships to my channel, so hit that join button if you're interested. And always remember to think outside the box and take a step back into nature. Hope to see you next time here at Patty's Aquatics.